Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another video on Salesforce Bolt. Guys, in this video, I'll show you how you can build your own bypass logic framework in your Salesforce environment. Bypass logic is a great way to provide admin and developers ability to turn off the automations, triggers, flows, validation rules whenever they want or during the data load process. So in this video, I'll show you how you can create a generic bypass logic framework, which of course you will be able to use in your multiple projects with your multiple clients. So let's start today's video, guys. I'm Kapil, your host, and you're watching Salesforce Bolt. Alright guys, let's start today's video. So as I mentioned earlier guys, bypass logic is a great way to provide developer and admins ability to skip their automations, validations, triggers from the environment. It could be due to any reason. The most probably it is going to be while you're doing data load. So while doing data load, it is recommended to turn off all the triggers and other automations, validations are also to have a smooth process, right? So, and also being as a consultant, I have seen multiple businesses using, their own different bypass logics to satisfy their requirements. So that's where I thought of, having a generic framework that can be reused in any environment. Okay, so that's where I have created this bypass logic, which I'll be explaining in this video. So as you can see here, I have already created a logic just to save the time, but I'll be explaining the functionality in this video. So to create the bypass logic, I have used a custom setting here. As you can see, my setting name is bypass setting. And in this setting, as you can see, I'm having a couple of fields here. There's a checkbox to bypass all flows in the environment. There's a checkbox to bypass all triggers. There's a checkbox to bypass all validations. And there's a text box to bypass specific automations. Okay. So if the bypass flows is checked, it will be bypassing all the flows in your system. If the triggers is checked, then it will be bypassing all the triggers. Validation will bypass all the validation. If all three are checked, it will be bypassing all the flows, trigger, and validation from your environment. In case if you have that unique requirement when you have to bypass a specific automation, it can be flow, validation, or trigger. You will be using this text box. It will be accepting values comma separated. Now you must be thinking, or you must have seen in other bypass logic, we can also have a global bypass kind of a thing, which is going to bypass all the automations, including like flow, triggers, validation, right? We can have like bypass all automation kind of a checkbox here that may be bypassing all these three values together. But that is going to increase a line of code wherever you are going to apply this bypass logic. So let's say if you're having 100 validation rules, it is going to increase 100 lines in the overall environment, which does not make that much sense because I mean these are just checkboxes, right? I mean how much time it is going to take to check three checkboxes and having a single checkbox just to avoid these three checks. So I had it earlier in the plan, but then I thought of okay, instead of increasing a line of code in the system, better would be to remove that checkbox. In the similar manner, you can have specific automation bypass setting for your flows, triggers, and validations also. But again, that is a very rare scenario. And then I thought of keeping one text box only, which will be having comma separated value. It can be trigger name, flow name, or validation rule as well, right? Again, the chances are very, very rare that you will be using the same name for your trigger, for your validation, and for your flow, right? In that case, of course, it is going to fail, but again, it is very, very rare. And these kind of situations can be avoided by setting up some best practices and proper naming conventions for the environment. So I skipped that idea as well. Okay. So as of now, this is having four fields only. Okay. And the benefit of creating a custom setting is you can have it based on your user, specific users, and you can have it based on the specific profile also. I'll quickly show that to you. So let's say if I'm creating a new custom setting, okay. Wait, let me go to custom setting again. Let me go to manage and let me create a record here. So here while creating a new record, you can see there's an option you're getting to have this custom setting for profile wise, or you can also have it user wise. So let's say in most of the organizations, in most of the business cases, there will be a specific user who is supposed to use this bypass logic. And for rest other users, it should work as expected. The other conditions and validation should trigger. And moreover, it is going to be the data manager user, maybe, or data integration user who is responsible for importing data or making bulk changes in the environment, right? So that's where you can simply set it up for that specific user, and the bypass setting is going to work for that specific user only. Or if you have created a specific profile like data integration profile or data management profile, where you'll be having all your data users who are responsible to make modifications in data, you can simply make it profile wise as well. For this example, I have kept it user wise. So this is my user, which is again a normal user, and it's just having this bypass setting. Okay. So as of now, I don't have any of the bypass triggered checkbox enabled. Okay, we'll keep this window open. This is my account validation. I'll explain the code later in this video. First, I'll show you a quick demo of it. Okay. So let me go to sales application. So as of now on account record, I'm having two validation actually. One is on account number, that account number should be required, and the another one is on phone, that if the rating is hot, phone is required. I'll quickly show it to you. While testing this bypass logic, you can see there are already 26 records created. I have already tested and modified the functionality 26 times, and this is my 27th time. So test record 27. Now if I'll try to save it, this is the first validation what I'm having. Account number is required. So let's say I'm entering account number 1414. And if the rating is hot, here's another validation which says phone is required if rating is hot. If it is warm or anything else, it is not required. It will allow you to save the record. Okay. Now I'll show you the bypass logic thing. So let me move it here. Now let's say we are making this bypass validation true. Okay. Save it. Now, if I'm creating a new record, let me refresh it once. New record, test record 28. And if I'm trying to save it, it will allow me to save the record because the bypass logic for validation rules are enabled. Okay. And now let's say I want to skip a specific validation rule. So I'll quickly make it unchecked, bypass all validation. And let's say I want to make this account number is required validation. So I will just put it here, and you can always have like comma separated name. So for now, I'm just skipping this account number is required validation. Okay. I'll save it. Go back here, refresh, create a new record. So now I won't be getting this account number validation, but I should be getting phone validation. Okay. So test record 29, and I will keep the rating hot and try to save the record. If you will notice, I'm getting the phone validation, but the account number validation is not there anymore. And if I'm entering phone number also, it will allow me to save the record. Same will be happening with triggers as well. You can simply bypass all the triggers in the environment, or if you want to bypass specific trigger, you just need to use this specific checkbox here. Okay. And same will happen with flow. So I will quickly explain the code what I'm using for validation rule and triggers only. I haven't created a flow just to save time for this video. I might be having the code base on my GitHub library. So I will quickly explain the code for validation rule So in the validation rule, this is my validation. Let me zoom in a little. Okay. So this is one of the validation. It is a very simple validation where we are just checking if account number is not blank. Okay. So here first, we have added an AND condition. We are checking if bypass validations is not true. So that's why we are having not condition here. That means if it is unchecked, okay, then we will be checking if the specific automation bypass, that text box, is not blank, because if you will try to check the contains condition directly, it won't be able to give you the proper result. Okay, because the contains condition will always going to be true in the case if it is blank. Okay, so that's where I have added another condition here just to check if the specific automation bypass, that text box, is not blank. Okay, so if it is true, so this is the OR condition. So one of these conditions should be true. Okay. So the first one condition is true, that the bypass validation checkbox is false. Then in the OR, we are checking specific automation bypass, if that is null. And if it is not null, let's say if it is having any value, then we are checking if the value contains the name of this validation. So here, if you will see, I have added the name of this validation. Okay. Again, the AND condition here is still going on. And here, after this bracket, this round bracket, I'm adding my validation rule. Again, it is also inside the AND condition. So all of these conditions should satisfy to trigger the validation. Okay. So in case, let's say if you're having bypass all validation checked, so it will go inside the first condition, and it will be making it false, right? And the validation will not trigger. If it is having your validation rule name in that bypass specific, and the first one, the checkbox, is false, then this is going to be true, but the OR condition is going to be false, and again the validation will not trigger, right? So that's how it is going to be. Now I'll do one thing. I'll quickly show you the code of one of the trigger as well. So for that, I have created a utility class which is bypass utils here. Okay, and this bypass utils, I'm having two different functions. First is boolean is global bypass enable. That means that checkbox, and another one is specific automation bypass enable. This will also return a boolean parameter. So in the is global bypass validation enabled, I will be passing the bypass field name. Okay, so here first we are checking if the bypass setting is null. If it is null, so we are simply returning false. If it is not null, we will return the value of the bypass field. For example, if it is bypass triggers, bypass flows, or anything else, we'll be getting the value of that checkbox. Okay. And in catch, we have done error handling. It is just simple error handling where we are just capturing the error message. In a specific automation also, we are just saving the name of that automation. We are having a string here. Again, if bypass setting is null, or if the string where we are having that text box specific automation bypass is empty, we are returning false simply. If it is not empty, in that case, we are checking if a specific bypass contains this. If it contains this, then again the trigger is going to bypass. If no, in that case, the trigger will trigger as expected. I can show you an example of it as well. So here, if you will see in account trigger, I am just calling these two functions here, and if one of them is true, then we will just return the trigger. We'll exit the process and we'll just give user a debug log which says bypassed. If not, we can have like our logic here. So here I have just created a sample trigger where I'm having trigger handler, helper. I'm having it on before, insert and update, and it is just printing some empty methods. Okay, I can show you a demo of it quickly, but that's how it is going to be. So now the question is, if I am not creating a utility class, what will happen in that case? So if you will not create a utility class, all these checks what you are doing in this utility class needs to happen on your trigger. Okay. Now let's say you are having like 20 triggers. So in all those 20 triggers, you will be having at least 10 lines of code just to check if the bypass logic should, if the trigger should bypassed or not, right? So better approach would be to have a utility class which can be leveraged by multiple automations as needed. Okay. Now I'll quickly give you a demo of it. Okay. Let me go back to previous screen. This is my developer console. Let me close all these stuff. Okay, and I will clear the log as well. Okay, now let me see if the logs are still enabled for my users. So I'll go to users. Okay, logs are disabled. I'll quickly enable it. Logs are enabled now. This is one of the new features in the Salesforce Inspector Reloaded. If you're not using it, I would highly recommend it. A pretty good productivity tool, guys, for a day-to-day task. Okay, now we don't have any trigger here. The trigger checkbox is also false, and we don't have trigger name here. So in that case, let's say if I'm trying to edit a record, I'm just changing the rating. I'm making it warm. Okay, record is being saved, and you can see the logs are being generated here. If I'll open it and click on debug only, you can see it is going before update and it is calling a method 2 as well, which is again an empty method just for the sake of this demo. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll clear the logs again. Okay, now we'll make the checkbox checked. I will do bypass triggers. All right. Okay. Now again I will try to edit the same record. I'll make it hot. Save. Account is being saved here. These are the new logs where if you will open this, you won't be getting any other log. You will be just getting the bypass log here. Previously, you must have noticed it was before update and there was a method 2 as well which is being called, but now here you won't be able to see that. Okay. So that's how you can use bypass logic. In the similar manner, it will work if you will be just adding the trigger name, or let me show it to you quickly. Okay. So I have removed that bypass trigger. Okay. But I will be adding it here. So let's say account trigger. Okay. Save it. Let's quickly go here, or let me first clear the logs. Okay. Logs are clear now. Now, if I'll go to my record, here it is, edit. I'm changing the rating again, hitting save. No logs are being generated here as well because the trigger name is there in the specific logic condition. So that's how it is going to be. I have added a detailed description and help text also to help you guys to understand the overall functionality in each of the field. So that was a demo of bypass logic, guys. Trust me, it is one of the best functionality you can have in any environment. In the case if you're starting a project from the scratch, of course you can propose this bypass logic to business to your clients as well. But if it is a brownfield project where the client is already having a bypass logic, then again a better approach would be to discuss your bypass logic as well with your customer, with your business, and make sure only one bypass logic framework is running in an environment. Either in your functionality you can use their bypass logic, or you can convince them to use your bypass logic in their existing functionality, and for your new functionality you can implement your bypass logic. So if you need the complete code, guys, I'm having a repository here on GitHub. If you will see, if you will go on repository, this is bypass logic basic. uh, it is basic because I was thinking of creating a advanced version of it. I'll upload it maybe by next month. But yeah, so this is the repository, guys. Feel free to download it, modify it, and use it wherever you need. This is, of course, free to use. So, and of course, I'll be having the detailed description about all these things on my blog, which is salesforce.com. So make sure to check that out as well. So That it is for today, guys. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit subscribe and like on the video. All right. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Thanks for watching.